Hey everyone, I'm Joshua Orro, the Mustang Prince, and welcome to Mustang Prince Orro Reports. Now, to be honest, today's blog isn't technically mermaid themed, but because this movie does feature one, I just had to blog this movie for Mermaid. But before I get to the movie itself, how about a little backstory on the studio that it came from? It's called Full Moon Features. For those who aren't familiar with this studio, Full Moon Features is an American motion picture production and distribution company founded in 1988, headed by B-movie veteran Charles Band. It is known for such direct-to-video films like Puppet Master, Trancers, and Subspecies, as well as the movie Castle Freak. So, you may be asking, which movie from Full Moon Features am I going to blog today? And how does it hold up? Well, let's get started and find out. Released to home video on December 19th, 1995, the movie is Magic Island. Now let's get started. Jack Carlisle is a delusioned 13-year-old boy. His mother is always away at work since his father left. He decides to run away as his mom won't miss him. As he is ready to leave, his nanny convinces him to read a magic book. The book is about a pirate adventure on Magic Island. As Jack reads the book, he is sucked into the world and goes on numerous adventures with Prince Morgan while fleeing from the evil pirate Blackbeard. So, what are my thoughts on this movie? Well, I think it was a really fun and adventurous movie. But to further explain why I enjoy this movie, let's move on to Mustang notes. The movie was directed by Sam Irvin, who also directed films like Guilty as Charged, Oblivion, and Elvira's Haunted Hills. Now, I guess you might be asking how I was introduced to this movie. Well, in all honesty, I never really had this movie on home video, so sometime during my childhood in the 90s, like several films that I mentioned on my blog show, I saw this movie on the Disney Channel. And back then, I thought it was a pretty thrilling experience. Though, nowadays, I wish I could own this movie if it got a DVD release. But thankfully, the only way to watch this movie nowadays is on YouTube, so ha! Now, in my opinion, the story feels pretty familiar. It's almost pretty similar to Treasure Island, with a little bit of Pirates 4D from SeaWorld. Also, there are a few parts of the movie that I need to talk about. For example, I do like how the island looks. I mean, yes, most of the island is a tropical jungle, but everything around the island is enchanted. For example, there are trees that grow foods that you love, but the trees are guarded by sand sharks. You know, as a young fool, this scene freaked me out a bit, but now that I'm older, this scene is pretty silly due to the shark being puppetized. And of course, there's water that looks black, but thankfully it's not poisoned or cursed. What's more, there is a scene where the gang meets three faces when they come to a fork in the road. And in my opinion, due to their design, these guys made me think of the totem poles from the Enchanted Tiki Room at Disneyland. And there was a spooky moment when our heroes get spooked out by a ghost who douses out their campfire, and it gets followed by Jack and Lily getting scared by a pirate skeleton at night. But the fiercest obstacle that the gang comes across is this stop-motion statue who guards the entrance to Carbas's tomb. Plus, in my opinion, the fight scenes between the heroes and the pirates are pretty fun, and of course they can be pretty humorous. And this was years before Disney made Pirates of the Caribbean into a hit franchise. And there are a few silly moments in the movie, and some of these humorous moments have some silly sound effects. Pretty similar to Inspector Gadget in a way, but thankfully this movie does not overdo it. Also, in my opinion, there are parts of the movie where Jack looks at his book, which foreshadows what's to come, or shows events that have just happened. Anyway, that's all I have for Mustang notes, so let's move on to the cast. Our main hero, Jack Carlisle, aka Mad Jack, is played by Zachary Ty Bryan, who got to be in the Rage, aka Carrie 2, and Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift. Now, in this film, Jack is a 13-year-old boy who gets sucked into his book and joins up with Prince Morgan, Gwen, and Dumas on their adventure to find the treasure of Carbassus before the villainous pirate Captain Blackbeard does. In my opinion, Jack is a very adventurous kid, and I think the stuff that he uses from his bag, like a microphone, a flashlight, bubble gum, CDs, a Walkman, a sound system, a lighter, and a water pistol, are pretty handy. Next we have Prince Morgan, the leader of the good guys, played by Edward Kerr. To me, Morgan is a brave character, though it is pretty strange that he thinks that Jack is a sorcerer. Then again, folks during that time period would think that stuff from the future is magic, but still, Morgan is still great nonetheless, especially since he has faith in Jack. The reason why Morgan and his friends are on this adventure is because he's trying to escape the oppression of his uncle King George. Wait a minute. King George, as in the British king who was making America horrendous before the Revolutionary War? Maybe, but let's move on before I get into some political trouble. Next we have Gwen, the only female member of the good guys, played by Lee Armstrong, whom I remember as Tammy from Leprechaun 3. In my opinion, Gwen is a tough fighter, and I think she could be a no-nonsense kind of person. And also I think that, well, it is possible that she and Morgan have a close relationship together. Next is Dumas, the religious member of the good group, played by Oscar Dillon, who got to be in Batman Forever. Now, am I the only one who thinks this guy is badass? Probably due to the fact that he's muscular, knows several legends about the island, and he's a skilled swordsman. Next up is Jack's mermaid friend, Lily, played by Jessie-Ann Friend. Now, in the movie, Lily means mermaid in fish talk. She first met Jack after she saved him from drowning. By saving his life, Lily is allowed a wish and uses it to gain legs for one day, and she joins Jack and his friends on his adventures. In my opinion, while Lily is human throughout most of the movie, she is very pretty and, of course, playful, and she's very helpful while she talks to the trees, flowers, and animals. Plus, She knows the secrets of the island. Also, I like the relationship between Lily and Jack. Next is our villain, Blackbeard, played by Andrew Divoff, who got to be in the 4th Indiana Jones movie. In this film, Blackbeard is a wicked pirate who is determined to get the treasure first at all costs. In my opinion, while he's not like the Blackbeard from the 4th Pirates of the Caribbean movie, this version of Blackbeard is pretty awesome, especially with Divoff's acting. However, his crew is pretty much a bunch of incompetent, brainless cowards. Still, Blackbeard is pretty threatening, like when he buries Morgan and his friends in the sand, and when he threatens to shoot Lily. Finally, we come to Carbassus, the guardian of the treasure, played by director Sam Irvin. To me, this character is very spooky with how deep his voice is. Also, I'm surprised that his tomb is actually a trap to keep folks from taking his treasure and to add them to said treasure. The rest of Blackbeard's crew, Supperstein, Duckbone, and Jolly Bob, are played by Fred Stewart, Abraham Benrubi, and Sean O'Kane. And now, let's move on to my final words. Overall, Magic Island, despite being a bit dated and forgotten these days, is still a fun movie, and every time I watch it, it brings back a lot of fond childhood memories. The setting is pretty good, several scenes are funny and humorous, the characters like Jack, Lily, Prince Morgan, and the villain Blackbeard are pretty good, though some of the other characters are a bit strange, and the story, though a tad familiar, is cleverly written. And like I said earlier, if you want to watch this movie for yourselves, look no further than YouTube. And I'm sure that this movie will make you and your family laugh, scream, or even cheer. As for my rating, well, I give this movie an 88% out of 100. Well, that's all for today, everyone. Be sure to join me for my final mermaid blog of the month, because next we're going back to Maraway Cove. Mustang Power.